It was 1965, and we were high school seniors living in Centerville, Ohio. And we were part of a movement of sorts, the folk music movement. What started as a performance at our homecoming led to performances at high schools across the state, at business association dinners, television performances on Dayton and Cincinnati stations. We even cut a record of original songs, which we sold to all of our friends. After 30 years, in 2003, we had a group reunion in Lake Tahoe. It led to more reunions and singing at our 30th, 40th, and 50th high school reunions. We found that we actually still like each other. And even though we are spread from California and Arizona to New York City, Ohio, and Alabama, and some of us are polar opposites in our political views, we're still coming together for the music and just to be together. And then someone had a crazy idea about doing an online talk show. And this is it.
Hello, and here we are, number 16. We are in Tucson, Arizona today, number 16 being the 10 of Us talk show, number 16. Of course, I'm Terry. We have Jennifer. We have the Captain Denny, and we have Patsy here. And today, what are we going to talk about, Patsy?
Well, I don't know if any of you belong to a book group, but it seems to be the thing to do lately. And I belong to a group of women. There are maybe 15 of us in the group, and we read different titles. Some are nonfiction, some are fiction. And one that I particularly like is called Joyful, and it's written by Ingrid Fattel Lee, who's a designer. And she talks about joy, and she breaks it down into 8 or 9 different categories. But I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about joy in our lives, because as we get older, it's nice to bring joy. It's important, more important than ever, to bring joy.
I think that's a great topic. I personally think for everybody, we're a boomer show for the boomer generation, but gosh, this works for millennials, this works for everybody. Put more joy in your life. That take a moment and just think of what you're just happy for, and that how that enhances things day by day, moment by moment, right?
Oh, absolutely, Terry. I agree with you. And I think that a lot of times we go through life and we get so busy and we're doing other things and we're just going from one thing to another without thinking. And finding joy in your life does not mean we're being selfish. It means you're taking care of yourself. And I think when we do that and we have joy, we take care of ourselves, then we also are giving to others. And you know, and we think it's almost a selfish thing. It is not. I think it's part of that self-care that becomes even more important as we get older.
Yeah, my wife and I volunteered at national parks before. When you are actually volunteering, you're giving more joy, you're getting more joy out of it than you're giving to the folks you're speaking with and talking about the park.
Right. And you hear that all the time from people about you think you're giving, but it's not. What you're getting back is so, and it's true. It's true.
Well, it's kind of like those Santas at the holiday season. You know, there are these fellows that go around handing out $100 bills or whatever.
Oh, those Santas.
Those Santas.
I thought you meant the Santa where I sit on his lap and ask for the Range Rover. Not that Santa. Okay.
And
Never works.
You know, they talk about that. They talk about that and how it gives them so much joy giving to other people and watching their expressions on their faces. I was reading an article about Donnie Wahlberg, and he, at the holiday season, he goes to different restaurants and gives a big tip
He was like several, was it 1,000 or more
He
than
gave
that?
this woman, he went to an IHOP.
Right.
And he gave a 2020 tip to her. And she was just beside herself with joy.
I don't know if our viewers all know this, but I work deeply in the burn community, people that are severely burned. And one of the things that I do for many, many years is I try to take a number of moments during the day and just go, look at the trees, look at the sky. I am alive. I am alive, that maybe a little ache here, maybe a little pain there, but generally in good health. I have my fabulous 10 of us friends, and I do that a number of times during the day. Just take it in. A lot of people call it deep breathing. I go one step farther. I look at the trees, I look at the grass, I look at the sky and say, wow, there's so much here to be joyful about.
I do the same, something very similar. I work in the alcohol and drug field, and I see a lot of trauma and disparaging and lives torn apart. And every day that I walk through the employee in the back door of where I work, I go, thank you, God, that's not me. You know, it could be me, and it could be any of us. You know, and thank you for putting me on this side of the door and the desk.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree, taking it that next step further is really important. And does anybody have suggestions? How do you, like, if you're kind of in that stage where you're not really sure which way to go? Yes, great, we talk about joy and being joyful. How do we find that out? How do we find that joy? You know, is it through exploration? Is it through talking? What?
Well, let me back up just a slight little bit there. I think what both of you were talking about is more like meditation.
Yes.
And that is sort of the latest, greatest craze. I mean, I have an app on my phone for meditation. Sometimes I'll just use that as well. But
A
how do you
meditation app?
Yeah, it really is. And this wonderful event takes place where you just put on headphones and you're very quiet and you're listening to what's going on in the meditation. Sometimes I just listen to the water in the brook running, you know, and that kind of thing. So the meditation app is something that you can get, you know, through the App Store, those kind of things. But it's really essentially can be someone talking you through a quiet time, or it can actually be just listening to background sounds. Like you can listen to the forest, you can listen to the water running through the brook, those kind of things. And sometimes I'll do that if things get wound up a little bit. But talking about bringing joy, what brings joy? I think it's talking to other people, and maybe you can agree on something, and maybe you can say a word that would bring joy to that person, and that also brings joy to you.
I agree. And I have in my office what they call those, like a white noise machine that does do, and I have a total selection of things from music to that babbling brook.
I have one of those too.
Do you have one of those?
Yes, I do.
See, isn't I've known you for 55 years and I had no idea.
You want to know why I have it?
Yes. Well, I can't do that at work.
The wife kind of snores, okay?
Well, I don't use it for sleep at my office, but I'll keep that in mind.
But the four of us are here enjoying a beautiful desert weekend down here at the Patsy hosting us?
Yeah.
Down here in the Tucson area. But there is joy in Manhattan, even though the weather's a little different. And let's talk to Jenny in Manhattan, and she can clue us in how she brings joy to her life.
All right, it's Ginny from New York, and this is January 11th, and I was asked to comment about what joy means to me. Joy is holding my grandchildren, tickling them, having the best time with them. Joy is being with the 10 of us, especially with Terry, where merriment always exists if Terry's there. His wit is so fast, and it causes you to feel joy and to want to keep up with that wit, which is a lot of fun. Joy is being heard and being really listened to, and I get that from my 10 of us friends for sure. I wonder how many people out there feel really heard these days. And let's see, I'm trying to think of, Joy was standing with a pin spot on my face in a 6,000 seat house in Houston, Texas, singing I Could Have Danced All Night, and knowing that the audience was in the palm of my hand. That was joy. So I believe I've given you a few things. So let me close while I'm ahead. Okay, love all of you. Bye-bye.
Great, Jenny. Thank you. Those were really nice thoughts. They inspire me. I wanted to say something else about joy. We were traveling in Italy. We were in Pisa. This was a while back.
Did you say pizza or Pisa?
Pisa.
Like in Leaning Tower?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And we went to see the Leaning Tower. And there's a baptistry at the church, right next to the church. The acoustics in that building are so amazing. And we went into the building, and there was a guide there, and he started singing. That was so awe-inspiring. The acoustics were beautiful. He had a lilting voice. I had goosebumps all around. It was so joyful, and it brought me such joy.
Another one of those, like they call them, I like to call them those aha moments. It's just those moments in life that become so meaningful, and they just happen because we're open to them happening, for one thing.
Yeah.
And you took it in, and you rejoiced in it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All of us in the tennis are spiritual people, but we have, well, a pastor in the group. Jim Dunn is kind of like our pastor, a great student of the Bible, keeps us in touch with the good book, and I know he has some real thoughts on joy and the spirituality of it. So Jim, tell us your thoughts on joy and our spirituality.
Griff, Patsy, Terry, Denny, good morning. Good to see you all. I was sitting here at the piano when your question came in, so naturally the first thing that comes to mind as a source of joy is music. The sound of it, the feel of it, the harmonies, it speaks to my soul. And at that point, joy and happiness are very similar. But joy is a more profound, more fundamental thing than happiness, and joy is usually found in relationships. Take, for example, the 10 of us. We are family and have been so for 55 years. We love each other, we are loved, we are accepted, we belong here. That is a source of joy that will sustain us through a lot of hard times in this life. But the next life, there is joy as well. And our source of joy in eternity is God Himself, the relationship with Jesus Christ. I know that He sought me out. I know that He saved me. I know that He loves me. I know that He's taking me home to be with Him forever. What a source of joy is that, eh?
Jim, thank you so much. I knew you would not disappoint. I think your insight and you obviously demonstrate your faith in all aspects of your life. So thank you so much for that response. We greatly appreciate it.
I wanted to add, I think, and I'm not picking on the millennials, but I think there's this genre to be joyful, to celebrate in life, to go, oh, isn't this wonderful, is somehow not cool. And I think there is this thought of if you're negative and you find fault here and you find fault there, that you're somehow cool. And if you say, isn't life great? Thank you for being alive today. Isn't this a beautiful day? You're not as cool. Well, let me tell you something. It's cool to be joyful, right?
Yep.
Well, we think so, yeah. Absolutely. Why not?
You know what? Let's have a toast to joy.
A toast to joy.
In fact, my daughter's name is Joy.
So
you're Joy?
I thought that's who we were toasting. We were toasting your daughter.
All right, so we're ready to hear from Ken, who lives in Chicago, but I think he's today in Florida and taking a nice break from the cold weather. So Ken, go ahead. Tell us about your joy.
Hi everybody, it's Ken Reed, coming to you from Marco Island, Florida. How's everybody doing there in Tucson? You guys look like you're having a great time in the warm weather, as I am here in Florida. You asking us to talk about what gives you joy. And of course, you know, for a lot of us who are married 50 years and have kids and have grandkids, our family is a big source of joy for me, just like everybody else in my thing. My wife is a joy to me. She's beautiful, she's smart, she's spiritual, she's one of the best persons that I know. And we have two lovely daughters who I'm very, very proud of as people, as mothers. And I have 5 grandchildren ranging from senior in high school to grade 2. And they're just full of joy for me, a great source of joy.
Well, of course. You're not up there in Chicago with the snow and the sleet and the hail. You're down in Marco Island. Of course you talk about joy. Ken, that was really great insight. The fabulous book you brought into our discussion today, Patsy, is there anything else you want to add?
One example is color and light.
Color.
Color and light can bring so much joy. For example, the paintings that are over there. When you look at that, the light, the color in the paintings, it can really create a very positive feeling. There was a recent election in the country of Albania, and apparently the capital city was having a difficult time with a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, and just down attitudes in a lot of the people. The mayor is an artist in training, and so he decided to paint one of the main buildings downtown an orange, bright orange color.
The entire building.
One whole side of the building.
Orange.
Yeah. And he said it was remarkable how people started coming out and spending more time in that area. More restaurants came up. People started showing some joy in their lives. And so just the color transformed the life in that town.
Well, you know, a great deal of thought, Patsy, kind of tagging on that, is a great deal of thought. I don't know if you know that when people plan hospitals, you know, that the color that they put up on a wall in a hospital is not by chance. It is a color that is shown to bring that calm or that peace or whatever. They recently painted where I work. So it does. And don't you notice things that when you're out there or you have things in your home or something and you add that little splash of color, don't we all gravitate to a certain color? I gravitate to certain colors. When I see it, it makes me happy. You know, makes me happy.
I like that. Well, the bottom line here is, I think we all agree, the real formula for joy is people to love. Have people around you and make sure you're loving them. That's a real thing of joy. Have something to do that you enjoy. If that's not putting the word in there, make sure you're not sitting around saying, oh, we got nothing to do, because having something to do with your life and to get up every morning to do, and having something to look forward to. Always be positive about your life. Here I am today, and I'm moving forward to something pretty cool tomorrow.
Well, as you all know, I just flew in from Columbus, Ohio this morning.
Who knew that?
I hope the person who picked me up at the airport knew it.
Okay,
I guess they
go
did.
ahead.
But, and I do need to tell you this, it's 68 degrees in Columbus, Ohio today, okay? Warmer than here. So just, now it's raining, but it is warmer, okay? So, but I heard of you did some really fun things in beautiful Tucson. Can you share? Tell me what you did.
Well, we did.
Yeah.
Do you have some video of it?
Well, we do.
Oh.
Oh, yes. We took a nice hike through the Sonoran Desert yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
we did.
Well, let's take a look at your video.
Okay.
Well, hi everybody, this is Denny here, and Patricia as well, and we're in the Sonoran Desert today. We're in Saguaro National Park East, and Patricia Patsy has lived here a long time.
Yeah.
And she's going to enlighten me on some of these beautiful desert plants that we see today. So take it away.
Okay, this is a cholla cactus, one of several different varieties of cholla cactus. And this is also called the teddy bear because it looks kind of like warm and fluffy, but don't get close, because this is what happens when you do.
It sticks to you, huh?
After the cactus flowers, then there are the fruits. And these fruits are eaten by a lot of the desert animals, and also the native people here harvest them and toast them and use them for food.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. And you'll see a lot of the fruits down on the bottom underneath the cactus. Now,
This looks like a whole bunch of grapes here. I mean,
know.
they're really prolific.
It really does. And this is a really big one. Rarely will you see one this size.
Now, I wish I'd come in a day earlier after seeing that.
It's beautiful.
It is absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's just amazing to me that every part of this country of ours is so different. You know, and in just a matter, I know this is showing my age, but in just a matter of a few hours, here you are in the desert. You know, a totally different environment.
We're so happy all of you are watching the 10 of Us Talk Show number 16. And guess what we have? We have a sponsor. And we're very grateful for our sponsor. So let's take a moment and hear from our sponsor for the 10 of Us Talk Show. And you know, all of you watching promised you're going to go out and use that product or service, right? Sure you are. But you know, Patsy, there are beautiful Tucson sunsets, but we've been here a day or two, and we just might have, for those of us who are in different time zones, a beautiful Tucson sunrise. So take a look at this sunrise.
You know, that reminds me of a song that I love. It goes, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the years, one season following another, laden with happiness and tears.
Well, I hope you take from this some aspects for joy for your own life. So from beautiful Arizona, for Patsy and for Denny and for Jennifer, we wave you goodbye.
Thank you,
Have a
Patsy.
joyful day. Thank you, Ginny from New York. Thank you, Jim from Pennsylvania. Thanks a lot, Ken from down in warm, sunny Florida. And for the number 16th talk show, thank you so much and goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
Don't forget to
Bye-bye.
mark down below. Don't forget to mark like down below. And if you have a comment, feel free to leave that as well.
Thanks much.